What if I told you that 90% of AI agencies are leaving $10,000 deals on the table? Why is it that some AI agencies manage to close $10,000 deals while others struggle to sell the exact same service for $1,000? Most people think that it comes down to how much technical knowledge they have, how much they know about AI, or how big your portfolio is. But here's the truth. It doesn't. The real difference is your offer. And this is where most AI agencies get it completely wrong. In this video, I'll be sharing the exact offer framework that turns a normal AI service into a high-value offer that clients actually want to buy. One that consistently closes clients. And once you understand this, selling AI services becomes a completely different game. So, if you're ready, let's dive in. So you've probably heard this 1,000 times, but I'm going to repeat this again because this is very important. Your offer is king. Because when you have a good offer, you don't have to look for miraculous ways for people to buy your offer or do any hard selling. It simply sells because it is so good. Now, what usually happens in this space is someone starts an agency or maybe an AI consulting business. Then they learn the skills that they need for that, maybe do a couple projects. And they say, for example, I sell AI automations for $2,000 or I build AI voice agents for $3,000. One offer, one price. And what happens here is when you're saying things like that, you're selling the features, not the outcomes. Meaning you're saying what you do, but someone that's hearing that offer has no clear idea of what that could do for them. And one thing you have to note is that there are many outcomes that one person could get from a single offer. For example, with AI automation, they could save time, they could maybe cut down operational costs, they could maybe scale your business, increase revenue. So there are many points, and you don't want your prospects to actually have to answer that for themselves. You want it to be very, very clear who you help, how you help them, and what they can actually get from working with you. What outcome do they get from that offer? And when you do that, you want to have good positioning as well. So many things come into play here. So first, let's talk about the fundamental of a good offer, and that is value. Now, there's this very brilliant equation from Alex Hormozi, 100 million offers, and that is the value equation. So that is dream outcome times the perceived likelihood of achievement divided by the time delay. So basically the time it actually gets for the person to reach that dream outcome times effort and sacrifice. So when we're looking at this equation, what we want to do is we want to increase the variables on top and decrease the variables below. Because for example, let's say when we're talking about time delay, people pay more money for things that actually happen faster. So let's say, for example, you're able to give someone a result that they've been looking for so desperately in 5 minutes. That offer will literally be the best offer they've ever heard, and it'd be an absolute no-brainer for them to actually get that offer. Or let's say, for example, you promise someone that you can get them a specific outcome, and usually maybe in your mind to get to that outcome, they'd have to do so much work, but then you actually put it in a way that they have to do no work at all, and they still get that dream outcome. That just brings everything a step higher. So that's what we're talking about here, providing value. So first, we have the dream outcome. And as I said before, so many offers can bring about different outcomes. And for different kinds of people, they'll be looking more at different outcomes that they can get from one service. For example, you can have a company that is looking to scale their operations. So for them, a dream outcome would be actually scaling those operations efficiently. You can have another company that maybe all they need to do is reduce the amount of time that they spend on specific tasks. You can have another company that actually wants to use that service to increase their revenue. So there are many things that come into play here. So one thing is that once you find who you're actually offering the services to, you want to think about what is your dream outcome, not the dream outcome that you perceive it to be. So you want to do research and really find out what would this kind of persona actually want to get from a service like this. And next we have the perceived likelihood of achievement. And the word I want to underline here is perceived, because it doesn't matter if you feel that that offer could get them to where they want to be. It actually matters how they perceive that they could actually achieve that. And likelihood of achievement is basically how likely are they to actually get that dream outcome, which is where you want to make it very clear for them to understand how they can get there. So next we have actually reducing the time and the effort. As I said before, if you actually have a way to give someone what you're looking for in the fastest way possible. So here, speed is what we're talking about. The speed of delivery, the speed of how they could actually get to that dream outcome that you're looking for. And then we have the effort and sacrifice. So effort and sacrifice could look like many different things. It could be maybe the amount of time that they have to put into maybe getting that thing. It could be maybe the resources, money, and so on. Or it could just maybe be the mental, capacity that they actually have to dedicate to that one thing. So the lower, the better. Now let's actually talk about how to communicate your offer. You can have the best service in the world, but if you don't know how to communicate it clearly in 1 to 2 sentences so people could actually understand, they get confused. And honestly, I bet that confused people don't buy. So what you want to do is you want to communicate your offer in a way that makes sense and is very clear to someone that is listening to it. Because what most typical AI agencies do is you ask them, oh, what do you do? And they're like, I build AI automations for businesses. I do CRM integrations using N8N and Claude Code. I don't know if you see the issue with what's going on here. When we're asking who do they help, businesses. And businesses could literally mean anything. It could mean logistic businesses. It could be local businesses like mom and pop shops. It could mean literally anything. What outcome do they get? We don't know. How long does it take? We don't know. So little things like that actually matter and go a long way. Because when you're actually not making it clear for the prospect, they do the mental work themselves to figure it out. And to be honest, most people don't even go through that hassle. They just move on to the next thing. So what we have here is the quick statement that makes all the difference. We have, I help audience achieve dream outcome by mechanism without pain in time frame. And these things over here in black, we're going to fill out and we're going to learn more about. So first, let's talk about the audience. So here we have the audience, and that's basically who are we targeting? Now, it might sound really good to say things like, I help small to medium-sized businesses, local businesses, small companies, service businesses, and so on. But the issue here is that what kind of small businesses do you help? What kind of local businesses do you help? Because the issue one business could have nothing to do with the issue another type of business could have. So here we want to be very specific, especially when we communicate this to potential clients, because when we speak to these clients, we want to make sure that they know and they feel that this offer was built specifically for them. So what are some good examples that we could actually use to make our offer better? So by being specific, we can say things like, I help real estate agents, fitness coaches who sell online programs, beauty salons with constant appointment scheduling, or roofing companies. One thing to know here is the more specific, the better. And next we have the dream outcome. So this is what is the transformation that your clients actually get. What is the actual results that a potential client could get by using your services? Now, you don't want to say something like improve efficiency with AI or use AI to answer your customers or something like automate business processes or implement AI in your business or, integrate a voice agent. Because what does that actually mean? What does that actually do for someone? What is the actual result that they could get from using something like this? Now, when we talk about the dream outcome, you kind of want to paint a picture. You want to paint, they call it the vacation, which is what someone would really want to get. And usually there are two main things in this category. It could be either saving time or making money. And then there are different things that come into account, but let's look at the actual good dream outcomes that you can use in your offer. For example, we have reducing current operational costs by 50%. We have it books you 30% more calls. We have predictable revenue, never miss an inbound call, cutting response time in half. And when you actually look at these dream outcomes, you see that they're very specific. So someone can actually measure the actual result they're going to get by implementing that offer in your business. And we were talking about, saving time or making money. If you look here, all these things here actually relate to that. For example, never miss an inbound call. So let's say, for example, we have a gym and they get calls after hours. So let's say someone was to call them and they wanted to maybe purchase a membership and no one ever replied, no one ever answered them or got back to them. Then they just go to the next gym and call them and they'll probably answer and then they get the membership there. So that business there has lost money. But let's say they had that system in place and they never missed an inbound call, then they would always get sales from, after hours calls like that. And that leads to more revenue. That leads to making more money, for example. And now we have the mechanism. And this is going to answer the question, how do you actually get them to your dream outcome? What is your specific method? And why I say your specific method is that there are many ways to achieve a single thing. For example, let's say miss inbound calls. So instead of maybe building a voice agent or that company actually integrating a voice agent, maybe they could actually just, hire someone to then take those calls. That is another mechanism. So you have to be very specific about how you're actually going to get them to their results. And we have some things that people usually say. I see a lot of agencies saying things like this, like, AI automation, AI voice agent, AI assistant, LLM powered CRM, AI workflow. Now you have to be very careful here because using fancy words doesn't really change a thing. For example, a word like LLM. Many people don't know what LLM is, so just putting all those fancy words in there just makes it less clear exactly what you're going to get and actually makes them more confused. So one thing you want to do here is you want to make your mechanism very clear and not confusing. They should know exactly what you're getting and exactly how your mechanism solves the problem that they have right now. So we have things that are actually good, like 24/7 AI inbound receptionist, which is for this use case I was talking about here, an AI powered workflow analysis agent, or AI lead qualification systems. These are very specific and someone can get exactly what is going to do the systems and actually start to think about the potential ROI by implementing this. And next we have the pain. So what is the pain that they feel right now? What is the problem that your actual mechanism is going to solve, your actual solution? And here I see a lot of people using a lot of generic terms like getting replaced by AI if you don't adapt, or being more efficient, or falling behind your competitors. Now, one thing I want you to note is that these are not real pain points, because you can tell someone that, oh, falling behind your competitors. But what if they're not falling behind your competitors, for example? That then is not a pain point. It's not specific. And another thing I want you to note is that the more vague you are with the pain point, the less it actually resonates with the client. So you want to be as specific as possible. And you also want to target real pain points that exist in the business. For example, it could be things like low customer retention, maybe wasted ad spend, manual follow-ups, missed inbound calls, no-shows, and last-minute cancellations. So those are real tangible pain points that a business could have. And that's what you want to target and put into your offer statement. Next, we have the time frame. So how long does it actually take you to implement this solution? How long does it take for them to actually achieve your dream outcome and see results? So we have some bad examples over here, like we'll build this over time. Now, this is bad because people want to know exactly when you're going to start seeing results, and you have to be very specific with it. And usually, the lower time it takes, the better the offer, but you have to be very careful and note this very important thing, because you never want to overpromise and underdeliver. What you want to do is actually you want to underpromise and then overdeliver. And just to give you an example of what that looks like, let's say, for example, it takes like 4 weeks to build something, but you told your clients that it's going to take 2 weeks. Right then, you're going to get them bad results because you're already going against the time frame that you already defined. So what you want to do here is that you want to take exactly what you think is going to take to build that system or to implement that service, and maybe add a 2 weeks buffer into it. So even if you told them it will be 6 weeks and you deliver it in 4 weeks, then you actually over delivered when you actually under promise, which is good. So be as low as possible with the time delay, but don't be unrealistic. So here, just to show you again the value equation that we're talking about at the beginning, the dream outcome times the perceived likelihood of achievement divided by time delay times effort and sacrifice. And as I said before, you want to increase these and you want to decrease these as much as possible. So far we've talked about dream outcome, we've talked about time delay, but let's actually talk more about effort and sacrifice and perceived likelihood of achievement to actually give you as most value as possible. Now, let's talk about effort and sacrifice. And here you want to make it that the client does as little as possible. So for example, of bad examples, it would be something like the client themselves would handle all the setup and all the integration, or maybe they have this huge upfront time commitment, or maybe they need to manage some prompts, for example. What you want to do is something like fully done for you, which basically means that you handle everything for them from the beginning to the end. We also have other things like plug and play solution. You handle integrations, it works with your existing systems, or maybe easy onboarding and fast setup. And you want to make sure that this is inside your offer statement because it gives it an extra boost. And then perceived likelihood of achievement comes about by having all these working together, because with all these factors, the client is actually able to see that you're able to get a tangible ROI by working with you. And finally, let's talk about the completed offer statements. So for some bad examples, which we've been seeing a lot, and we're not going to see anymore after today, is I help businesses diagnose and implement the right AI solution. I build AI automations for small businesses. I build AI voice agents for gyms. Now you're going home with I help growth-focused SMBs reduce operational delays by 40% by automating task assignments and follow-up without you having to hire additional staff in 28 days, fast setup guaranteed. Or we also have, we help dental practices fill every empty appointment by installing a 24/7 AI receptionist that schedules patients automatically without losing calls or missed opportunities, live in 30 days, fully done for you. The problem of just one offer when you want to sell high ticket services. So when you have only one offer at one price point, two things happen. Either they buy or they don't. Everything becomes binary. And sometimes what happens is this. First, you lose clients that were actually qualified, but maybe we're not just ready to commit 7,000 to someone that they just met. Now, this is different if you already have reputation, maybe you've already built some rapport in the space and people know you for that expertise. But when you're coming fresh into the market and you're messaging people or connecting with people that could actually become potential clients, and the first thing you pitch them is a 7,000 deal when they haven't even seen your work or actually experienced what it's like to work with you. Even if they needed your service, maybe they actually wanted to get that on board, they would not get it because they don't have any entry point. They don't have any way to actually see that what you're offering is valuable to them and you're the right partner that they should go with. Secondly, you might actually undercharge clients that would have paid more. So let's say, for example, you have an offer that's $3,000 and that's the only offer that you have, and you actually price anchor them at that point and they actually say yes. So then you're like, okay, let's work together, let's hop on. And then later on, they're asking you to do more projects, can we do this, can we do that? And then you realize that if you had just gone with them with a bigger offer to actually implement all those for them in the first place, it would have gone the same way. And three, you're always looking for new clients. You're back to zero. Once a project is finished and delivered, you're back to cold outreach and hoping that someone answers your email, because there's no clear upsell path. There's no clear next step that someone could actually go to upgrade in your offer, because you just have that one static offer. This is why most agencies and AI consultants stay stuck, not because the market is bad, not because AI is slowing down, or because they lack the skills. Their offer structure was just broken from the very start. So, what's the solution? You need to be flexible and have different entry points so that each qualified conversation has somewhere to go. And with this, I recommend having 3 tiers of your offer. Each serves a different purpose, but it's each designed to work together. So each entry point, the next entry point, just seems like a natural upsell. Your first tier should be your entry offer. And here, the goal is not to make a lot of money. The goal is to get people into your pipeline and to make it very easy for them to say yes. So this is your lower price offer, and this could be something like a paid consultation. It could be a 7-day AI audit. It could be maybe a 7-day consultation with a company. Just something to get them working with you so they can start seeing and envisioning what working with you on bigger projects actually looks like. Now, why is this important? Because most prospects aren't ready to hand you a $7,000 deal on the first call because they don't know you yet. The risk seems too high and they haven't experienced what results and value you can actually offer. So with this entry point, you're able to actually get them on as a client, so now they can experience what it's like working with you and build more trust for when you want to actually transition to those bigger projects. So in the middle layer, we have the core offer. And this is where you have your core offer that's actually the engine of your business. So you can charge between $5,000 to $10,000. But the most important thing is this. Let's say, for example, in the entry offer, you already did the consultation with them and you build them out a plan or identified some quick wins for them. Then you can then say, okay, this is the quick wins that we've actually identified from the work that we did this past 7 days. Do you want to move on to the next step for us to actually implement this for you? And here the upsell actually becomes easier because here it isn't, okay, this is what I can do. It's more so, this is what we worked on together. Do you want to move on to the next step? It is logical and it seems like lower risk because at this point they have more trust in what you can actually offer them. And in your top tier, you have your premium offer. And this is where the money maker truly is. And you never want to pitch this premium offer as your first entry point because what most people are doing is they hop on these calls and they're trying to get someone to buy a 15K deal with a company that has never worked with them before and hasn't even properly heard about them. So here, once you've done all the other entry points, it becomes very easy for you to actually upsell them to get that because at that point, the trust is solid and you're actually very excited to work with you, and it seems like the next logical step as well. And that is it, everything that you need to know to build your own bulletproof offer. And if you're interested in learning more about offers as well as getting live feedback as you build yours, feel free to check out my free school community. In there, we speak more in depth about that, as well as other resources to support you during your AI journey. And also feel free to check out this video I recorded over here that breaks down how to get ahead of 99% of people in this space. I hope you've enjoyed this video. So until next time, peace.